So imagine walking into like a sprawling new hospital or maybe a bustling international airport.
Right, or even one of those hyper-sleek smart offices downtown.
Exactly. You walk through the doors and the environment simply, well, it anticipates you.
Yeah, the climate is perfectly balanced.
Right. Security gates part effortlessly. The lighting adjusts to the exact lumen based on the time of day.
And the elevators magically know when the lobby is getting crowded.
It's this flawless illusion of harmony.
Yeah.
But if you were to actually peel back the drywall and look behind the ceiling tiles, you wouldn't find harmony.
No, not at all. You would find a chaotic, invisible turf war.
A massive language barrier operating right over your head.
Because that illusion of a, perfectly orchestrated symphony is often hiding a dozen different subsystems that are stubbornly refusing to speak to one another.
Yeah, the lighting grid completely ignores the HVAC system.
And the security cameras are, well, they're blind to the occupancy sensors.
And that silent standoff is trapping millions of dollars in actionable data right inside the walls. So, okay, let's unpack this.
We really need to.
We are looking at some fascinating research today from INBAC, led by their president, Saki Darshan-Chandran.
Right.
And it maps out exactly what's failing in our smart infrastructure and how we fix it before giant tech disruptors rewrite the rules for everyone.
So for this deep dive, we are going to explore the hidden and honestly often misunderstood value of all this trapped building data and how the actual architecture of these systems evolved into the current bottleneck we see today.
Right, because it didn't happen overnight.
Exactly. And from there, we will look at the massive economic ripple effect of shifting away from proprietary networks, specifically in a booming market like India.
Which is huge.
It is. And finally, we'll cover the specific urgent mechanism needed to basically force global interoperability.
Well, before we can even diagnose the architecture, we really have to look at the asset that's under threat here.
Right, the data.
Yeah, we aren't just talking about digital thermostats here. We have to understand why this communication even matters.
Well, digitalization has transformed the physical building from a simple shelter into like a highly sensitive data-generating organ.
Wow, an organ. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, you have continuous real-time streams pouring in from occupancy sensors, security networks, parking systems.
Energy monitors, right?
Exactly, energy monitors and comprehensive building management frameworks. This data is the absolute center of modern digitalization efforts.
So it's not just about turning the AC down.
No, not at all. Businesses operating inside these buildings use these metrics to benchmark incredibly granular operational goals. They track exactly where their resources are bleeding out.
And it goes beyond just the businesses, right?
Yeah, on a broader scale, governments are actually feeding utility usage, water quality, and air quality metrics from these individual buildings directly into macro urban planning grids.
So it's basically the nervous system for an entire smart city.
Exactly. But that entire vision hinges entirely on whether the data can actually move.
Which brings us back to the source material.
Right. The research points back to some vital context from Alex Su. He's the General Director of Data Analysis at True Balance.
Okay.
He noted that by 2020, big data analytics had already synthesized into a booming market. And this was driven heavily by India's position as one of the top 5 social media and mobile consumers globally.
Oh, wow. Top 5.
Yeah. So generating vast amounts of data became indispensable. Adopting new data management technologies wasn't just like an option anymore. It became an absolute inevitability.
So data generation is definitely there.
Yes. The management of it is the bottleneck.
It's like having a grand library filled with the most vital books in the world, holding the answers to urban planning and corporate energy efficiency.
Right.
But every single book is written in a different ancient dialect. If the researchers can't translate the text, the knowledge simply doesn't exist.
That is a great analogy.
For you listening, just think about how much invisible data your own office building is generating right now, today, that is just vanishing into the void because the systems can't translate it.
And that is the core tragedy of a closed system. The data is effectively trapped in a silo.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the structural root of the problem. If this trapped data is such a massive liability, We really have to look at how these automation systems are actually built.
Right, the actual architecture.
The extent of interoperability is dictated entirely by 3 distinct eras of architectural design.
But wait, if the design is so broken right now, how did we even end up with this architecture in the first place? I mean, surely engineers didn't design these buildings to be intentionally fragmented.
No, they designed them for comfort and security, but based on the severe technical limitations of the time.
Okay, that makes sense.
Historically, the industry relied entirely on monolithic solutions.
Monolithic, meaning like one giant block.
Basically, the entire end-to-end system is provided by a single manufacturer using a proprietary communication protocol.
Okay, so sticking with our library analogy, this is a library where you are only allowed to read books published by one specific printing press.
That captures it perfectly. The system is entirely interoperable within itself, completely controlled by a single supervisory setup from that specific manufacturer.
But why would anyone choose a monolithic system in the first place if it locks you in so tightly?
Well, in the early days of automation, integration across different brands was incredibly difficult and risky. A monolithic system gave a facility manager, well, one throat to choke.
One throat to choke.
Yeah. If the climate control failed or the security system glitched, you didn't have 5 different vendors standing in a circle pointing fingers at each other. You had one phone number to call.
Right. So by keeping the architecture closed, facility managers essentially traded future flexibility for guaranteed functionality in the present.
Exactly. But as data became the primary currency of a smart building, that comfort turned into a trap.
Because you can't get the data out?
You are fundamentally locked in. Operational costs skyrocket because there is no competitive pricing once the system is actually installed.
Oh, because who else are you going to call?
Exactly. You face agonizingly long waiting times for basic feature upgrades. And crucially, all that valuable sensor data we just discussed, it's locked in a proprietary format.
So you can't export it?
No. You cannot easily push it out to a modern analytics platform or a municipal smart city grid without the manufacturer's permission.
Which I imagine forces the industry to find a workaround. Because if relying on one printing press isn't enough, you hire a translator?
That ushers in the second attempt at a fix. Platform-based solutions.
Okay.
A solution provider offers a central platform designed specifically to connect different subsystems, even if those systems run on different proprietary protocols.
So it's a hub.
Right. The platform acts as the centralized hub, pulling in data from the AC, the lighting, and the security grid, and translating it into a unified dashboard.
Going back to the library, it's like paying a single, incredibly expensive translator who sits in the middle of the room, but they charge you a toll every single time you want to add a new book to the shelf.
The integration costs under this model are just astronomical. Oh yeah, the central platform itself is almost always proprietary. So whenever a building owner tries to integrate a new, innovative third-party product, they face steep validation and upgrade costs just to get the central platform to recognize the new hardware.
Wow. So that completely kills innovation.
It severely limits scale-up. The availability of this platform is restricted to the specific implementers and investors of that closed ecosystem.
So the data might be moving a bit more freely inside the walls of the building, but you are still living inside a walled garden.
Yeah, you're just paying a different coal collector at the gate. And neither of these models solves the core issue of scaling innovation globally.
Okay, so what is the solution then?
That forces the necessary paradigm shift the research advocates for. Solutions designed on open standards and protocols.
Open standards.
Right. This architectural design isn't about one massive company owning the hardware or one software firm owning the translation platform.
Okay, so how does it work?
The entire system is based on the cooperation of individually developed subsystems built by completely different vendors.
To finish the library metaphor, this is the entire industry agreeing to publish every new book in a universal language, like Esperanto, from day one.
Yes. Standardization in this third era is handled by global central bodies rather than individual corporate R&D departments.
What's fascinating here is how that shifts the entire financial model, right?
Exactly. What's fascinating here is that it drastically reduces standardization costs and eliminates vendor lock-in entirely. A fully open standard is practically available to all.
So it's much cheaper.
It heavily reduces both capital and operational costs because multi-vendor choice keeps the market relentlessly competitive.
Wait, I have to push back here.
Sure.
If everything is operating on an open standard, doesn't that make the building incredibly vulnerable?
How do you mean?
Well, if everyone knows the universal language and anyone can build a device that speaks it, Can any hacker just walk in, learn the language, and completely take over the system?
That is a very common concern, actually, but it misunderstands how open standards function at the security layer. Yeah, open doesn't mean unsecured. In fact, standards built and vetted by global bodies like the International Organization for Standardization, ISO, are subjected to far more rigorous, continuous stress testing by the global cybersecurity community than any proprietary code sitting hidden on a single company's server.
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Extreme transparency in the protocol allows for much faster identification and patching of vulnerabilities.
So it's the difference between relying on a locked door built by one guy in secret versus a locked door designed and tested by thousands of the world's best security engineers.
The transparency is the security. And because you are using that universally vetted language, you achieve much faster time to market.
Because everyone is already speaking it.
Right. The entire industry already has tools built for that common standard. A new innovation can be deployed immediately without waiting for a proprietary platform to, update its software.
So what does this all mean? We know open standards are technically superior and secure, but the research points to a much larger macroeconomic impact, right? Particularly in a rapidly scaling economy like India.
Oh, absolutely. It dictates who gets to participate in the economy.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Well, to implement open standards effectively, diverse stakeholders must collaborate. That technical shift opens the door for smaller, highly agile companies to enter a market that used to be a fortress controlled by monolithic corporations.
Okay, that makes sense.
The source actually features some vital research by Sainu M., an assistant professor at the University of Calicut focusing on the role of MSMEs.
MSMEs, micro, small, and medium enterprises, right?
Exactly, in India's economic development.
Let's look at the sheer scale of that sector. We're talking about 3.61 crore, so over 36 million small and medium enterprises operating across the country.
It's massive. The economic weight of those 36 million businesses is staggering. They contribute 37.5% to India's GDP.
Wow. Over a third of the national GDP is resting on these smaller enterprises.
Furthermore, they employ nearly 40% of the entire Indian workforce.
40%. So by keeping the building automation architecture closed and proprietary, we aren't just frustrating a few facility managers.
No, not at all.
We are artificially bottlenecking 40% of the country's workforce from innovating in this space.
And considering MSMEs contribute 45% to the nation's manufacturing output, locking them out is basically an economic disaster. Let's ground this in a real-world scenario.
Okay.
Imagine a small tech startup in Bangalore. They have designed a revolutionary, ultra-sensitive air quality sensor that uses a fraction of the energy of current models.
A brilliant piece of hardware that every hospital, school, and airport should want immediately.
Right, but under a platform-based or monolithic model, that startup hits a brick wall.
Because they don't speak the language.
Exactly. They can't just sell the sensor to a hospital. They have to pay exorbitant licensing fees to access the proprietary API of the major platform running the hospital's network.
That sounds expensive.
Very. They have to hire developers to write custom code to translate their sensors data for that specific walled garden. The capital required just to connect the device bankrupts them before they can even manufacture it at scale.
Their innovation basically dies in the lab because they couldn't afford the toll collector.
Yes. But open standards completely remove that hurdle.
Because the hospital already speaks Esperanto, so to speak.
Exactly. They allow that local startup to plug their innovation directly into the global infrastructure of a new commercial high-rise without paying a massive corporation for the privilege of translating the data.
So the standard is essentially the economic lifeline.
It is. And the corporate giants, by the way, aren't just stepping aside out of charity.
No, I wouldn't think so.
The research applies a framework from Zinnov regarding collaboration between massive multinational corporations and these smaller startups. The Goliaths actually need the Davids.
Because the giants move slowly and the startups are agile.
Precisely. Massive corporations team up with startups to access entirely new niche markets and complementary products they haven't developed themselves.
Oh, that makes sense.
They use these collaborations to identify potential market disruptors early, partner directly on disruptive innovations, and even explore acquiring opportunities. Bringing specialized talent in-house.
So it's a win-win.
Open standards form the technical foundation that makes this lucrative cross-tier collaboration possible. The startup gets immense scale, and the multinational gets fresh innovation.
But they both need that universal language to even sit at the table together.
Exactly.
And they need to figure it out fast, because this industry isn't evolving in a vacuum, is it? It is facing massive, immediate disruption from the outside.
Oh, yeah. Customer expectations are mutating rapidly. I mean, people have grown deeply accustomed to the frictionless reality of their personal tech.
Right.
The paper points out that tech titans like Apple and Google are aggressively pushing toward a completely frictionless automation experience.
Because consumers now expect their office building to be as intuitive, responsive, and effortlessly connected as their smartphone ecosystem.
Exactly. Regulators and entirely new tech entrants are storming the gates of the building security and automation space. They are demanding extreme cost savings and new customer value.
So traditional firms are probably looking around, realizing that new ecosystems are emerging overnight.
Yeah, they have to decide right now where they fit in. Do they try to specialize in a tiny, shrinking proprietary niche, or do they partner up?
Here's where it gets really interesting. INBAC isn't stepping in to just, sell a new piece of hardware to fix this.
No, not at all.
Their proposal is radically more ambitious. They're trying to organize an entire country's fiercely competitive supply chain. The integrators, the installers, the consultants, the suppliers, into a unified community.
Yes.
But I have to ask, how do you actually convince direct competitors to share their playbooks? How do you organize a fragmented industry to fight off the seamlessness of an Apple or Google?
It is an incredibly complex and often really messy undertaking.
I can imagine.
Getting fierce competitors to sit in a room and agree to standardize their core technologies goes against decades of ingrained business instincts.
Right, everyone wants their own walled garden.
But INBAC, which stands for the Open Systems Building Automation Solutions Community in India, they argue it is an existential necessity for symbiotic growth.
An existential necessity.
Yeah, they aren't asking competitors to stop competing. They are asking them to agree on the dimensions of the field so everyone can play a much bigger game.
Okay, let's get into the mechanics of that. What does INBAC functionally do to enforce this cooperation?
Well, they outline a series of actionable strategic goals. First, identifying the stark risks of stunted domestic growth if the industry remains fragmented.
Okay.
Second, actively promoting open protocols based on those globally recognized standards, like ISO. Third, facilitating the sharing of global market trends within the community.
Right.
But the most vital mechanism, honestly, is their focus on increasing product quality through rigorous interoperability certifications.
Wait, let's pause on that. How does a certification actually force a Goliath company to play nice with our hypothetical Bangalore startup?
It alters the buying behavior of the end consumer.
How so?
Well, when a massive hospital network puts out a tender for a new automation system, they don't want to get locked into a proprietary trap.
Right. They want options.
If INBAC establishes a widely recognized interoperability certification, that hospital network can simply write a requirement into their massive contract. They can say, all installed devices must carry this open standard certification.
Oh, which forces the massive traditional manufacturers to adopt the open standard if they want to win the lucrative hospital contract.
Exactly. The certification becomes the key to the market. If a product is certified, the buyer knows for an absolute fact it will communicate seamlessly within their open system.
That's brilliant.
It breaks the monopoly of the monolithic providers by using sheer market demand to enforce technical cooperation.
It uses the purchasing power of the infrastructure boom to essentially mandate a universal language. And the scale of that boom in India is staggering, isn't it?
Oh, the demand is exploding across commercial, residential, and governmental sectors.
Yeah.
We're looking at massive investments in hospitals, metro networks, airports, sprawling shopping centers, hypermarkets, and incredibly ambitious smart city projects.
But without open data flow, a smart city is just concrete and wire.
Exactly. The research stresses that solution synergy, which is achieved only through open interoperability, is what ensures authentic, tamper-proof data collection across multiple vendors. It is the foundational investment required for the future of smart infrastructure.
Wow. It really completely reframes how you look at the physical world around you.
It does.
For you listening, the next time you walk into a brilliantly automated retail outlet or you are gliding through a seamlessly connected airport lobby, take a second, look up at the ceiling tiles.
Yeah, look behind the curtain.
Think about the invisible language operating just out of sight. Ask yourself if it's a closed proprietary dialect trapping its knowledge inside, or a globally open language whispering data back to the city, allowing local innovators to plug into the future.
And there's one final thought to leave you with. The research makes it clear that open standards ensure seamless data flow and prevent any single vendor from locking down a building.
Right.
But if every building eventually adopts the exact same open protocols and everyone has access to the same frictionless data, does the competitive advantage of the future shift entirely away from who collects the data to how creatively they can analyze it? If the building's language is free, what is the cost of the thoughts it produces?